faith, belief in action. Randy Ollis is finding people who are guided by their faith from all religions, denominations, and walks of life, and sharing their stories with you. From the All Indiana Podcast Network, this is Finding Faith, brought to you by Northview Church.
I have Patrick and his lovely wife, Katrina Appleton, and we're going to talk about, you were on a show, a couple of weeks ago, I believe, here. Patrick, you had not one, but 2 heart attacks. Tell us about it.
That is correct. And thank God that I'm here today. I'm only here because my wife saved me through CPR. 2009, I had what they call a widowmaker. My heart pretty much went into a heart attack. We made it to the hospital in time, and so they put a stent in, and the stent actually saved my heart. So 6 days later, I'm laying in my bed, dead sleep, and my wife heard the bed shake, So most of the time, we have a huge bed, so it really shouldn't be shaking. And so to me, that was a Lord telling her to wake up, your husband's dying. And so
as you get into, though, you had a stent put in, and I saw where there's only a 1% chance that your heart would reject that stent. Is that correct?
Very true. Very
okay,
true.
All right, go ahead.
Yes.
Okay.
And so as I'm laying in bed, my wife looked over and she watched me take my last 3 breaths. My eyes had completely rolled back in my head. I had stopped breathing, and she immediately drugged me to the floor off the bed. I think she dropped me on my head. But anyway, she started CPR, and at the same time, she called 911. That's the very most important thing you do is call 911. So she administered CPR on me for 17 minutes. I mean, most people do it for 1 or 2 minutes and they're tired, but 17 minutes. And then so finally the paramedics arrived in our house. They took one look at me, they felt my pulse, and they said, dead on arrival. Wow. They wouldn't do anything. And so my wife said, you got to try, please. She actually had to plead with them to try to save her husband. And so finally they pulled out their paddles, they defibrillators, I'm sorry, they shocked me once, nothing. They shocked me twice, still nothing. 3 times the charm, still no heartbeat. And so the 4th time they shocked me, they got a heartbeat, and then they went into paramedic mode. They rushed me out to the heart hospital on 160 Meridian in Carmel. When I arrived at the heart hospital, I was dead on arrival again. No pulse. And so the good thing about me, I'm a donor, and I want people to know to be donors. And so once I got there, they said, here, they put me into this thing called hypothermia because I was dead. And so they froze my body to a low temperature just to, preserve my organs so they could use them later. And so once they did that, I was in a coma for 3 days, and by the grace of God, I woke up on the 3rd day.
The 3rd day.
The third day. I didn't have no memory. I didn't remember anything, and it was so amazing that I'm glad you allowed me to tell a story. That when I woke up, people always want to say, "Is there an afterlife?" And I don't know if there's an afterlife, but the whole time I was dead, I mean, I remember myself floating down this dark hallway, and it was one of the most amazing things I'd ever encountered in my life. I mean, I was dressed in all white. I could feel like the wind blowing. I could hear birds chirping. But I was going into this big dome of a light. And then as I got closer, I could feel an easiness. And so once I entered into this light, it was my mother-in-law.
Your mother-in-law.
Me and my mother-in-law, we
were close.
We were very close. Okay. She had passed in 2006. And she reached and she grabbed my hand and she led me away. She said, Patrick, it's going to be okay.
And for 3 days you were in a coma.
Yes, sir, 3 days with no brain activity, no nothing. And the nurses came in and they were telling my wife about last rites. His quality of living is going to be horrible if he actually goes through this, and he will never be able to probably talk or walk again because I had such a traumatic injury to my brain.
Oh, Katrina, tell us, how did you feel about this? I mean, CPR, you had to learn that somewhere, and you just kept going and going.
Exactly.
You never gave up.
And I think for me, it wasn't just CPR, it was my husband. I'm a nurse, and I've gone through codes in the hospital, and you do this is what you do as a nurse. But when it's your spouse and someone you love, you just think about it completely different. I always say that I was the vessel that God saved him, and the entire time that I did CPR on him, I was saying, Jesus, 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 and I'm on with the paramedics, and I'm talking to the 911 receptionist, and she's telling me what to do, but I'm praying the entire time. Yeah. So we get to the hospital, and they get him stable and get him to his room and everything. And again, they did the induced hypothermia, and really, it's not just to preserve the organs, but to drop the body temperature so that the body can rest. But then the doctor comes out and she says, what do you think Patrick would want? And I said, he would want you to do everything you could. Yeah. And she said, I just want to prepare you. She said, he will probably be a vegetable. He will, he may not even survive. And at that time, it was like God put a shield in front of me and that doctor. And I knew everything was going to be okay. I didn't accept her negativity. I didn't accept anything that she was saying. God let me know that he was going to be fine.
Yeah, we have about 30 seconds, 45 seconds. Patrick, I'll let you wind this up. Talk about your faith. What would you say to people out there who want to give up or they're going through health issues? Tell us about your faith, real quick.
You got to have strong faith. And at the end of the day, I mean, you got to believe and you got to fight for the person. Mm-hmm. And you got to, pray every day and live a good life. And, more than anything, learn CPR, because if it wasn't for CPR, I mean, my wife wouldn't have saved me.
That's right.
Faith or not, I mean, faith is awesome, but if she didn't know CPR, I would have laid there and died.
Yeah. You have to know CPR. We always say that, stress it all the time.
Yes. So. And advocate for your loved one.
Yeah.
Okay. Really, you have to.
Absolutely. We could go on all day.
Right.
Time is up. Patrick, Katrina Appleton, thank you guys very much. So
thank you.
Appreciate it here. May God keep going here. Just keep on going. I'm Randy Ollis. Thanks for joining me in the Finding Faith podcast. Join me again next time as I share more stories of people who are guided by their faith. If this podcast has touched you, I hope you'll share it with a friend. If you have a story you want to share, go to lifestylelive.tv and click on the contact button.
This is Finding Faith with Randy Ollis. Be sure to like and subscribe to this podcast, and be sure to check out other great podcasts on the All Indiana Podcast Network online at allindianapodcastnetwork.com.